Hello guys, welcome back to this YouTube channel. I am Grace Oninye Obodo. Thank you so much for dropping by. If you're a new subscriber, you're most welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I'm really grateful to have you here. Now, in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to write cold emails to professor by our distinguished guest here. So we actually did some other videos. We'll put a link to the videos in the description box. You can check out the videos on how to write a good motivational letter and on how he won 3 fully funded scholarships in Europe here. So please do check on the video because you'll really find it helpful. I'm sure about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so today we're going to be concentrating on how to write cold emails to professors. This is one of the videos that a lot of people have been looking forward to. So we are glad to bring this video right to you. Without wasting much of our time and your time, let us get right into the video.
Let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Jude Chukwebuka Obodo. I am a current Erasmus Mundus scholar for public health and disaster at the University of Oviedo in Spain, where I'm doing my first semester. So today, just like promised, I'll be doing a very brief video on how to write a cold email to professors for graduate school funding. Cold email to professors for graduate school funding. For those of you who don't know what a cold email is, a cold email is simply an unsolicited email you write to professors, you write to lecturers in a university, seeking for their approval for them to be your supervisor, because in some graduate school in the United States of America, in Canada, and in Australia, you need to have a supervisor before you make your graduate school application. The graduate school will ask you to contact a supervisor from their website, so you have to get the approval of a supervisor before you can make applications. So because of that, you need to email these professors or these supervisors to get their consent and approval to supervise you before you can even make your graduate school application. This is mostly required for schools that have funding, where they will be able to take care of your tuition fee and possibly give you a monthly stipend during your study. So that is the basic background about this cold email of a thing. Okay, for schools in UK, sometimes if you don't really need a supervisor, or you don't need to message or email a professor for a supervision position, once you start your graduate school program in UK, you will definitely be assigned to a supervisor. Mostly it is not funded, but for the funded programs, you really need to get a supervisor. Okay, so now another thing you need to know about writing the code email before we go straight into the format for writing. You need to identify the university you want to apply, identify whether identify the program you want to apply, and identify whether the program requires you to get a supervisor. Okay. So once you identify that, you go to the website too and identify the list of the faculty members, the professors or researchers in that department. Okay. Now look at their different research areas, their different interests and background where they are working on. So and look at them and look at your personal background, your academic background, and your future career interests. So once you see one that align with yours, you write down their name somewhere and their interests and have them as a potential supervisor you are going to email very soon. Okay. So sometimes in some graduate schools, there is an advertisement for graduate students. Yes, they do advertisements that they need 1 or 2 master students, they need a PhD student to work on a particular project. If you have this skill, please send your CV, this to their email. In that case, you are not sending a cold email. This is because an advertisement has been made. But when writing a cold email, no advertisement will be made. No advertisement was made. You on your own decided to email this professor to see if he or she will be available to supervise you or to fund your graduate school program. Okay, that's the first background you need to understand.
Okay.
Now, after you have identified that, the next thing you need to do is to start drafting your code email. So it is not very difficult, neither is it very simple. The first paragraph, the first thing you need to do is to identify a very good subject for your email. So the subject should be as simple as possible and straight to the point, so that once the supervisor or the professor sees the subject of the email, he or she will know why the student is sending this mail. For example, you can say request for MSc Supervision, Masters in Biotechnology. Request for Supervision, Masters in Biotechnology, University of ABC, something like that. So that once the supervisor or the potential supervisor or the professor sees that subject, they already know the content of that email. So if he or she has an opening and is looking for a student, he's going to open it and then read the rest of the content. Okay, your subject is very important. Keep it simple and direct. Now, when you go into the body of the email, your first paragraph should be a very brief introduction of yourself. Introduce yourself, introduce your country of origin, introduce your background, and introduce why, and write why you are writing that email. For example, my name is Obodoju Chukwebuka. I am a first-class graduate of parasitology and entomology from Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, in Nigeria. Okay, I am writing to you because I'm making application for Masters in Biotechnology at the University of ABC, and I seek and I wish that you be my supervisor for this program. Simple. You have introduced your background, you have introduced your country of origin, you have introduced your name, you have also made your intentions very clear. So if he or she reads that first paragraph, he knows whether he needs to go ahead to read the rest. If he has, sometimes they do not have available position. They will tell you immediately that they don't have available position. Sometimes they have available position, but not for that year of entry. They may have the available position for the next year or for 2 years' time. So you never can tell. Okay. So after you've written this brief introduction, you now get ready to write the second paragraph. In the second paragraph, you're going to, quantify the skills you have. If there is an advertisement, for example, if there is an advertisement for the program, remember it is no longer a code email because an advertisement has been made.
Yeah.
You're going to use a different format, which I may talk about before the end of this video. But let me concentrate on writing the code email where there was no advertisement. So in the second paragraph, you're going to tell them the skills you have. And before you list the skills that you have and the knowledge you have that makes you a good candidate for his or her laboratory or his or her research team, you need to read and study about the lecturer's interest, the professor's interest, and the research area. Okay, once you have studied it very well, you know some of the skills that you have that will be of great interest to his laboratory or to his research team. Tell them what you're coming into his research team to bring, what you're bringing into the research team. If you have, for example, if you're applying for bioinformatics, for example, maybe masters of bioinformatics, and then you have programming skills. This is where you state that you have a programming skill. Okay. You also state that you've done some workshops and all that in bioinformatics and in programming that are very relevant to the bioinformatics you're applying. The same rule applies to every other program. You also tell them you also tell him briefly that you have a class of degree that is very relevant. If you have a first class 2-1, you mention it briefly in the second paragraph. Very brief. Remember, it has to be as short as possible. If you have an IELTS, well, if you're applying to schools or countries where English language is the medium of instruction, if you have your IELTS, you tell them that you have your IELTS and you made 7.0 band, 6.5 band, as the case may be. In other words, you are very fluent with spoken and written English language. So you state it there so that the professor understands that you can actually work and function in their team. If you have done any collaborative publication or any collaborative studies, this is where you state it too, briefly, that you have worked with more than you have worked in a disciplinary team, carried out research or workshop or whatever, or even conferences, maybe organized conferences, or you attended conferences international. This is where you just so that the professor or the supervisor have an idea that you can work in a team where there are, diverse culture, diverse disciplines. Okay, it gives them an idea that you can function in a multidisciplinary team. So after that, you should also be able to narrow down all your skills, all the stuffs, all the knowledge you have, both your undergraduate, in one sentence, okay, to the area of interest and the area of research of the supervisor you are emailing. Now, in the third paragraph, briefly, you mention the areas of research of the professor that interest you, okay? You can read about his publication. If you find any aspect of his publication interesting, you state it. I read your article on so and so topic, and I found it very fascinating, especially the idea of this. And it also aligns with your career interests. You should be able to link it up. You cannot have you cannot have bachelor in English language and you are sending cold email to a professor in computer science. So you see, it becomes difficult for you to link your background to the area of research interest of the professor. So you need to really link it up. Okay. Then after that, just with 2 or 3 lines, you've actually talked about his research. Now you go over to the 4th paragraph. Now, in the 4th paragraph, you're going to state that you're actually willing to work with him in other projects that may not be the ones you have seen on similar projects. The projects may not really be on ground because you don't really know what you may not know what he or she is working on at the moment, or he or she is actually applying for grants, which may be available in the next 5 months, in the next 6 months, and he or she may really want graduate students after maybe in 6 months' time. You are not sure. So you are expected to tell the professor or the supervisor that you are willing to work with him or her on other projects that are related to your background and your interest. Now you just move briefly again to the 5th paragraph. In the 5th paragraph, you tell him briefly why you want to do this master's degree or why you want to do this PhD degree, as the case may be. So briefly, in 2 or 3 lines, you state it. I want to get this master's degree because it will help me do this. It will help you do this in your career. If you're into academics, you are going to mention how it's going to help you in your academic career. If you want to be a professional in the field, you state the same. In 2 or 3 lines, it's not going to be much. Okay. Now, before the end of your 5th paragraph, you also tell the professor that you're willing to discuss these issues on, online media, such as the Skype, if there is need for it, such as the Zoom meeting, such as even the Microsoft Teams. So we can actually have discussions on this if he or she wants to know you better. And also, you also tell the professor at this point that you are attaching your CV. Your CV should be within 2 to 3 pages, very brief. You attach it to this email. You also attach your degree certificate if you have it. Attach your transcript, your academic transcript, a student copy of your academic transcript. Attach it to this email. And also, you also attach your IELTS if you have it. If you have TOEFL, please attach it. If you don't have any of these, if you have English as a medium of instruction, the certificates you get from your school that you are taught and examined in English language, if you have the certificate, please also attach it. Okay, and then you end it. Yours faithfully, and all that. Kind regards. You put your name, and please use some softwares to edit your work and make sure it is grammar error free. It is very important. No supervisor will want to read, especially an unsolicited mail, and you are reading the mail with a lot of grammatical errors. Please try and edit it, and then before you submit. Another thing you should also know is that you are not going to use the same code email for all the professors you are going to email, and email as many professors as possible. During my time, even earlier this year and last year, I made over 100 code emails to different professors in different areas. Okay, even in US, even in Canada, and even in Australia. So you have to tailor each code email to meet the research area and research interest of the supervisor. Just like when writing your motivation letter, you have to tailor it to the person you are writing it to. Please do not use a generic code email format. Make sure it is well tailored to the person you are writing. Address it to the lecturer or the professor. When you are talking about their research area, please state what interests you in particular. Don't just say your research interest alone interests you. No, try to be more specific. If there is an aspect of his research that interests you or aligns with your background, state it. Don't just use a vague term. Okay, so try and be specific as much as possible. On the final note, I want to encourage you to send as many cold emails as possible. Once you identify that a university has funding in Canada, in US, or in Australia, please send as many cold emails as possible. And then don't be worried when you get negative responses from these supervisors. They get so many of these emails from so many students all over the world. Okay, so when you get negative responses, please don't be worried. Just send as many as possible, and then you will definitely get a positive response. Most times when they respond, they will tell you that they're interested in working with you, that you can go ahead and use them as your supervisor in your graduate school application for that university. That is a positive response. Congratulations. Some supervisors will tell you that they want to meet you via Skype, via Zoom, or via Microsoft Teams. They will send you a link, and then you will go there and you will discuss with them. It will just be like a chat. You tell them just most of the things you've written in your code email. You just discuss with them, and that's it won't pass most times less than 10 minutes. Okay, and it's usually not that tedious. So I wish you all the best as you go ahead to send these code emails, as well as make your graduate school applications, write your motivation letter, and all that. All the best and success as you go ahead. Okay, see ya.
Thank you so much, dear, for this video. Once again, I really appreciate. I hope you loved the video. I hope you enjoyed it. You know what to do? Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to get more contents like this. And do not forget to hit on the notification bell so you can be alerted whenever a new video comes up. Thank you so much for staying to the end of this video. We hope to see you in our next video. Until then, take care of yourself. Bye.